All right, guys, what's up? It's been a while. Life's finally kind of going back to normal. Um, I just want to make a video talking about having COVID, and so if you don't really like videos where I'm just sitting here talking, you're probably not gonna like this one. Go ahead, hit back, watch something else. I don't know, but it's probably gonna be a pretty long video of me literally just sitting here talking. That was a rough 2 weeks. So I got my computer in front of me so I can kind of like try to keep track of what was what. I tried to make this video like 3 different times when I actually had COVID. Like I was just gonna record like every couple days, like, so here's what's been going on, here's how I feel, but it was rough. So I ended up deleting every time I recorded. So here we are. It is Saturday, March 27th. I tested positive on March 11th. So it was like March 8th or 9th. I had a really bad headache, and I get headaches every once in a while. I wear glasses, and I don't know, like I got really sensitive eyes, so I kind of blame my headaches on that. I probably get a couple headaches a week, and I'll take like a Tylenol or ibuprofen, and the headache goes away. No big deal. I usually don't take them unless the headache like gets to a certain point though, because I don't really like taking medicine that much, like especially like ibuprofen and stuff like that. Like that stuff's just terrible for you. So it's not like, oh, I kind of got a headache, let me take something. So the first day, I think it was the 9th. Yep. So the 9th, I had a headache at work. Felt kind of tired, but I was like, I probably just slept bad or something like that. Kind of brushed it off, no big deal. And then the 10th at work, I had like all day I had the headache on the 9th. And I believe that night I took some ibuprofen and nothing happened. I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like it really rarely never doesn't work. Never doesn't work. I don't know. You know what I mean? Rarely doesn't not work, I guess. I think. I don't know. But I brushed it off. I was like, oh, it's probably just, I don't know. I don't know what it was. I just brushed it off though. So I woke up on the 10th, which was Wednesday for work. And I was like, man, I'm even like, I feel more tired. I went to bed earlier, but I'm more tired. But I was kind of excited. I'm like, oh, finally, I won't have a headache anymore. And then like, once I kind of like actually woke up, I'm like, no, I still have a headache. Holy crap. So I'm at work and I was just like, I felt kind of drained. Like my body was just like, felt really weak for some reason. And not like to the point where it was like hard to work, but it was there. I knew it was, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like crap today. And I was tired. My body was just kind of sore and weak, and I still had that headache. So at this point, I'm like really annoyed with the headache. I'm like, I'm going to take some more, I think I took Tylenol this time or something, because I was like, ibuprofen didn't work yesterday. Let me try to take some Tylenol. So I took some, continued working or whatever. And again, the headache did not respond at all. I'm like, all right, this is weird. I've taken 2 completely different medicines and this headache's not going away. So, there's really nothing I could do. So I continued working. I went home and just kind of just relaxed on the couch. Went to bed kind of early again. And I was just, I don't know, like my body felt more tired like as the day went on, even though I was just like resting. And so now we're on Thursday the 11th. Like I had went to bed probably at like 7 or 8 o'clock at night on the 10th. I woke up on the 11th in the morning before work. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had felt like, no, zero exaggeration here, I felt like I got hit by a bus. Like I was walking down the street and I just got just smacked into by a bus, but I was still alive and not like severely hurt. My body was so, like, I've never felt so weak and so sore before. Like even, when you have like 24-hour flu or whatever, where you're just puking and you got diarrhea for a day or two, your body's sore. This was 50 times worse. And I'm like, I'm laid in bed and I'm like, oh my God. Like, I wasn't comfortable laying down either. And that was the weird part, was like, usually when you feel like that, for me personally, it's like that sensation like your body is trying to fight off a sickness and it's just using everything it's got. So you're just super weak. But usually when you lay down, for me at least, when I lay down and I feel like that, I feel relief, because you're laying in bed, you're comfortable, you prop yourself up with some pillows, wrap up in the blanket nice and tight, and, you get comfortable or whatever. You get some relief. Well, I had no relief. Like, I'm laying in bed and I'm like, oh my God. It was so uncomfortable. I was like, I want to get up and take like a really hot shower. Hopefully that'll help. That's like always my go-to, like a hot shower, a hot bath when I'm not feeling good. So I like rolled out of bed and I had to like hold myself up against the wall, and I get to the shower and I'm doing the same thing. Like, I got the heat cranked and I'm just like leaning against the side of the shower, just letting the hot water pour on me, and it felt really good, but like it wasn't really helping. Um, and I didn't want to wake Shelby up. Like, our, showers up in our bathroom, or, up in our bedroom. And I'm like, I was like, I'm going to go lay down on the couch, because I was feeling nauseous too. Like I was going to get sick. And I'm just like, I'm gonna be down here, I'll be closer to the bathroom, and I'll have like a bucket by me or something just in case, because I had that nauseous feeling. I'm like, I just want to throw up and get this over with. So I lay on the couch, I bundle up, got kind of comfy, ended up falling asleep. Never got sick or anything like that, but I couldn't sleep for more than probably like an hour, maybe an hour and a half at a time. Every time I woke up, though, I felt a little bit better, so it was nice. So I ended up calling off work, and this was Thursday the 11th, March 11th, and it was probably 4 or 5 in the morning. I called off work. Shelby got up for work around that time, and, so obviously I woke up, and I was telling her what happened, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I didn't really feel too nauseous anymore. But I explained to her like how sore I was and stuff like that. She's like, yeah, you're definitely getting sick. Your body's just trying to like fight off whatever it is. And at this point, COVID had not even like crossed my mind. So she's up at this point getting ready for work. I'm still down here and I'm just kind of like lounging around. Had no appetite. And she ends up leaving for work. So I'm like, I'm going to go back upstairs now that she's gone, so I can just kind of spread out in bed. I don't got to worry about, trying to be quiet and stuff. So I lay down. I think I probably got a couple hours of sleep, and I woke up. I was like, all right. I was like, all right, it's time for some food. I'm getting kind of hungry. I wasn't really craving anything, but I was like, I need to eat. I haven't eaten since, yesterday. Like, I don't even remember. I don't think I ate dinner on the 10th even, because I just had like no appetite. So I come downstairs and we've been buying like little like healthier snacks, trying to not eat so much junk. And we got like some sugar-free Jello. And she eats the strawberry, I eat the orange. And, so I know what it tastes like. So I grabbed one of those. I was like, it's light, I can eat it real quick and whatever. So I go upstairs, lay back in bed, turn the TV on, and I start eating the Jello, and I'm like, this tastes really, really weird. Like, it didn't taste like orange Jello at all. Like, I could taste the texture of it, but like the actual flavor was way off. And I'm like, I know this stuff ain't bad because we just bought it like 2 days ago. I just had one yesterday, the day before, and it was perfectly fine. So I texted her and I'm like, my taste is messed up. And she's like, oh no. She's like, do you think you have COVID? And I was like, I don't think so, but obviously I don't know. So when she got off work, she picked me up and took me, excuse me, I'm so tired. She took me to the urgent care in town that does like the rapid tests. We get there, there's like probably 6 cars in the parking lot or whatever. So I'm like, oh, thank God they're not busy. So I walk in and there's only like 2 people in the waiting room. I'm like, oh, sweet, thank God. Like, this place is always hot as hell. And it feels like they take forever. So, I walk in, I sign up, I click the little, yes, tick mark or whatever for the COVID test. And then she said something about, we'll call you or something like that. Like they got that plexiglass up and she's sitting like 2 foot behind it. And there's only like, you're standing, you know, I'm standing up, so my head's up here. Her head's like way down here and like 2 foot back. And there's one small opening down at the bottom. So it's like impossible to hear these people. And I'm sick, you know, they got a TV going, you know, there's people talking. So I'm just like, oh, whatever. So I sit down. But what she said was go sit out in your car and they'll call. Wish I would have heard that. But so I'm sitting in there and I am like on fire. Like I am literally just drenched in sweat. Like I had a light jacket on. You know, I had my mask on and I'm just sitting there, just my forehead's just dripping sweat. My body was just like damp with sweat. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm texting Shelby, she's out in the parking lot. And after like a half hour, I'm like, you might as well go home or something. Cause like I haven't moved in here. None of the other people in here have moved yet. Like, I feel like this is going to take forever. Because people kept walking in the door, and then they would call them right back. I'm like, so we obviously got a ton of people, like, waiting out in our cars or something. So I was getting frustrated. I just wanted to get in there, because the test itself takes 5 minutes. You know, they do the little thing in your nose, you sit there and wait, and then they come back and tell you yes or no, you don't have it. So she had left, you know, because she had been at work all day. She hadn't eaten, so she left and like went and grabbed a snack or whatever, comes back. Actually, I think she ran into the store too, if I'm not mistaken. Like she was gone for a minute. I still hadn't gone back, but anyways, finally fast forward, they call my name. She checks my temperature. She didn't say like, yes, I had a fever, or no, I didn't, but brings me to the back room. I sit down. She tells me, you know, like you got to pull your, like, don't take your mask off, but you just pull it down to like here or whatever. You know, lean back. She does it. And then she's like, all right, you know, doctor will be in, you know, in 10 minutes or whatever. It takes like 10 minutes for the results to come in or process or however it works. So another doctor comes in and he's like, he's keeping his distance. He's like, yeah, buddy, you tested positive. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, I'm like, I actually have COVID. Like, I legit got scared at that point. I'm like, and he's like, you know, you got all the symptoms. He's like, you know, you're running a fever. You know, you got this, and this. You know, those are all symptoms of it. You know, do you know where you might have got it from or who you might have got it from? And that was the most frustrating part at the time. I know nobody that had it. Nobody at work has it. Well, I mean, that I know of, that I work around. Nobody at work has it. No friends have it. Like, and I don't leave the house. Like, we're not going out and doing stuff. You know, we went to that hotel, but, you know, we're literally the only people in our room, obviously. And then when we were at the pool, there was a couple little kids on the opposite end of the pool. Like, we'd never had contact with anybody except the, you know, Shelby checking in at the front desk or whatever. And then the only other place we were, you know, down at Angry Grandma's house, and obviously, you know, none of them had it or have it. So it was just racking my brain. I'm like, where could I have possibly got it from? Like, it had to be some case where, like, we went to Kroger or something like that, and I had pulled my mask down to itch my nose or something, you know, where I had my mask off for a split second, because I wear it, you know, I keep it on my nose. I wear one of the like, ones that wrap around your whole head, because I hate the mask ones. They just, like, they squish my face. But I was trying to wrap my head around it. I'm like, I cannot, honest to God, cannot think of anywhere that I could have got this from. I don't know anybody that has it right now. And it was frustrating because, you know, just a couple months ago, you guys watching my videos, you see me, you know, I've went and got tested a couple different times because I was in contact with somebody for an extended period of time that actually had it. And I never got it. Now I don't know of anybody that has it, and I got it, you know, so I was, like, really pissed off too. But he's like, you know, do you live with anybody, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, my fiance, she's in the car right now. So he's like, you know, you should have her come in and get tested right now. So I go out to the car, and, you know, she's like, you know, she didn't believe me that I had it. I had literally showed her the paper, and, like, I have it, you know. So she went in to go get tested. She had, like, no symptoms, but she goes in to go get tested. Again, it takes like an hour, if not, it was probably actually longer than that. I'm just sitting in the car, like, just dying. And like, I was like legit scared because I'm like, what is the outcome of this gonna be? So fast forward about an hour, she comes out to the car. She tested negative, but of course they told her, you know, like, I just tested positive, so she probably doesn't have it yet. She doesn't have any symptoms. And again, this was Thursday the 11th, and they told her to come back on Saturday or Sunday, which would be the 13th or 14th. So I had gotten in contact with my work when she was in there, and, you know, like, I did the little questionnaire things just so I could get that out of the way and say, you know, yes, I have COVID, yes, I have these symptoms, yes, you know, I tested positive, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, when you do that, it's like, do not report to work, you know, someone from HR will call you. So luckily they called right away because I wanted to get that squared away, like, you know, that I'm obviously not going to be at work for a while. You know, I didn't want to be at home and then have to deal with that. So someone from HR called me at work. I don't know who it was, but she says, she's like, okay, so here's how it works. 14 days from now, you know, after 14 days after your positive test, after your first positive test, you go get tested again. And, you know, 99.9% chance you're going to be negative. She's like, but after you get that negative test, you got to go 3 consecutive days with like no symptoms, you know, no fever, you know, not taking anything to reduce a fever, you know, yada yada yada. Makes sense. Okay, cool. So I was like, so just so I understand, you know, the 11th, you know, so it would be the 25th. I go and I get another test, and then so 26th, 27th, 28th, and I come back to work that Monday, right? She said, yes. Okay, cool. So got everything squared away there. She gave me the paperwork to do the short-term disability, which was a waste of time. And I had to text them a picture, you know, of my positive paper or whatever, like the test, just so they have it on file. And that was it. So I'm like, all right, cool. You know, on the 25th, I'll go get tested again. And then, you know, that next Monday, I'll return to work. You know, I'm sure I'll feel fine by then. And I wasn't feeling that awful after I got the COVID test. Like, my body aches were nowhere near as bad as they were in the morning. You know, so I was like, so I have to wait, you know, that 14 plus the 3? And she's like, yep. Because I was like, I thought I had heard something that they changed it to 10. And she's like, no, it's 14 plus the 3. And I'm like, okay, cool. You know, I understand. It is what it is, you know, so whatever. I'll just have some extra time off work, you know, I'll be able to relax more and get back to 100%, I guess, you know, whatever. I didn't really care. So Shelby comes out, you know, she tested negative, you know, told her to come back. So we go home. And she was talking to her bosses at work, and they're like, you know, you guys need to, like, quarantine away from each other. You guys need to, you know, stay away from each other, you know, so you don't get it, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, at that point, we were kind of like, there's no way for us to quarantine separately in this house. Because one of us is going to have to be upstairs, you know, to shower and bathe. And kitchen and stuff is down here, you know, so it's like we like have to cross paths eventually. And I was like, you know, I guess I could wear a mask around the house. I mean, you know, I wasn't just gonna be like, oh yeah, this is dumb, you know, you're gonna get sick too, you know. So I was like, we'll definitely try, but like it's just gonna be like nearly impossible. So we figured for now it would be easier for her to have downstairs, you know, and sleep on the couch, because, you know, she can come in and out of the house, you know, take care of the dogs, you know, still be able to have access to the kitchen and, you know, the bathroom down here. But she's gonna have to come upstairs when she wants to shower, and, you know, I'll just have to put a mask on, or, you know, keep a window open. You know, we'll figure something out, I guess. And so she was still feeling fine all that day. And then later on that night, she started randomly coughing, like almost just like a light cough, but that's all it was. No headache, you know, no body aches, no nothing like that. But, you know, that was kind of suspicious. So I don't really recall eating that day. Actually, yeah, we got burgers from somewhere. She went and picked them up and then, set it outside the room. And then when she went back downstairs, I came and picked it up. I think so, yeah, we had like burgers and fries or something like that. But the taste was definitely off. It wasn't bad. Like, I could still taste, I could still smell, but it was just different, if that makes sense. Like, I never lost taste. Like, I saw videos like on TikTok where people would be like, oh my God, I have COVID. And then they would go take like a bottle of mayonnaise and eat it and like mustard and like, wow, like I really can't taste it. Like, I was never like that, thank God. But, yeah, so basically she was down here, I was upstairs, just like essentially on bed rest. Like, I was just laying in bed watching TV. I had my computer up there. Luckily, bought this laptop or whatever. And I still wanted to like edit some videos and get some content out. And then it just hit me again. Like it came in waves. Like, I would feel very decent for parts of the day, and then for other parts of the day I was just like, oh my God, I'm so sick. And so the symptoms I had were the body aches. Those were by far the worst. Like, at night I could not sleep. Like, I was tossing and turning, like constantly moving. I got up out of bed, I would take a hot shower, I would lay on the ground in front of our bed, toss and turn. The body aches would not stop. Like, they were like mentally driving me insane. And then I was like, let me try taking some Tylenol, and luckily that worked. That would get rid of them and allow me to actually fall asleep, but I would still wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning and be achy again, so I'd have to take more medicine. But like the nausea aspect of it like would come and go. Like, I would feel fine, but I would just feel like tired and achy. And then like I would feel nauseous, like I wanted to throw up and get sick, but like I never actually puked or anything the entire time. And then that would go away, and then I'd feel like 80% good again. Like, I'm ready to start the day and do stuff, but I'm like, no. So that's how it went for the next couple days. So Saturday comes around, and by this point, like, Shelby was coughing, and it was like pretty much like we knew she had it. It was completely different from mine though. Like, her head was like really stuffed up, and she's like, she can't smell, she can't taste, and that part was driving her like mentally crazy. But she didn't have like the body aches or headache or anything like that. But we kind of knew she had it, so she wanted to, come downstairs so we could see each other, but I would wear a mask, and still keep our distance. Like, I would sit over here, she'd be way over there on the couch. And Saturday morning comes around, she was gonna go get us some food, and I looked down at my phone, and mind you, this whole time my mom had been sick too, but she had went to the doctor, and they said it was like a bacterial infection or something like that was really nasty, and she was sick for like a week prior to me even starting to get a headache or whatever, and she never said it was COVID, and I hadn't seen her. Like, I hadn't physically been around her probably like 2 weeks, so it didn't even cross my mind that maybe this could be related or whatever. But where was I going with that? Oh, so Saturday morning, I'm downstairs, but kind of keeping my distance. Shelby was getting ready. She was gonna go get us some like McDonald's, I think, or something. And I looked down at my phone, and my mom had texted me, and she said, "Grandpa's gone." And I'm like, don't. And it like, it didn't hit me for the first like hour, and I'm just like trying to like in my head like, he left the house and they had to go to the hospital, or just trying to make up all these scenarios in my head that was like, no, he's not dead, something happened, or like they had to go somewhere or something. And like I knew deep down what she meant by it. And I know like some people would be like, oh wow, they why would they text you something like that? Like, I'm a texting person. I do not like being on the phone. I know that seems insensitive to some people, but that was very okay for me to get that news through a text. You know, I'm not like offended by it. It wasn't, you know, an insensitive way to do it. Like, I'm not a phone person. Plus, I know she would have called for that, but she was so, like, she was 50 times sicker than I was. So, you know, it was just a quick text, you know, to let me know. And, you know, so I eventually, like, once it kind of settled in, you know, I broke down over here on the couch. You know, and at that point, Shelby was like, you know, I can't stay away. Like, you know, she was over there giving me a hug, you know, telling me everything was gonna be all right, stuff like that. And it, like, if you guys follow me, you know that he's been sick for a while now. And, you know, I've talked about our relationship, like, we weren't that close now that I'm older, and I hated that. But, you know, it didn't make it hurt less, you know, didn't make me less sad or anything like that. Because, like, he was such a fighter, like, from the time I was a kid, like, you know, he never showed pain. He never showed weakness. You know, he was, you know, the manly man, like, tough guy, you know, never got hurt. You know, when he got hurt, it was no big deal, you know, like, he'd chop a finger off, you know, cutting wood or something like that, and it was just like, yeah, look what I did, you know. And it's just like, he was such a warrior, you know, and he was in the war and stuff like that, and just, you know, I guess I just never thought that, you know, we could lose him, I guess, you know, to put it in the best terms. So it hit me really hard. Like, it eventually hit me, and it hit me really hard. And then especially, like, what really sucked about it was, you know, here we are, two of us in this house with COVID. My mom's sick. She can't leave the house. My uncle had just got surgery. He had a kidney removed because they found it was like a super cancerous kidney. So he's like super weak right now. And I'm just like, you know, this happened, and like none of our family can be there for my grandma, you know. And like, I thought she was there alone. I didn't realize her sister and her sister's husband had flown up from Florida just a couple days prior. So thank God for that. She, you know, she had somebody there with her. But like, that hurt too. I was like, none of us can be there for her, you know. Like, I thought she was there alone. I'm like, you know, they've been like this for 40 something years. I think it was like 43 years they were married. And, you know, they had that ideal old relationship where, you know, like, she didn't work. Like, from the time I've been young till now, like, she hasn't worked. You know, she cooks, she cleans the house, you know, takes care of him. And, you know, he was working, you know, 500 hours a week, you know, working on their house, you know, working at Ford, and, you know, being a heavy machine operator, you know, being in the war and stuff like that, you know, the Navy, you know. So like, he was that working man, you know, and she was the, you know, the wife that stays home and cleans and, you know, took care of the kids and stuff like that. Like, up until literally, I think like last year, she had never even used a debit card before. She didn't know how to use it. She didn't know how to pump gas in the car, you know, because he always drove, and, you know, he took care of all that stuff, you know. So it's been a huge, you know, turning point for her. Like, you know, now she's on her own. Now she's got to do all this stuff that she's, you know, never really done before, you know, that's new to her. So that also made me sad, knowing that we couldn't be around right now to help out. I was still like, this was Saturday, you know, this was the 13th, you know, and like I said, I had tested positive on the 11th, and, you know, so it's only been a couple days. Like, I'm not getting over the sickness yet. It was still pretty much going downhill for me at that point. But I was having times of the day where, like, I felt okay. So, you know, I was like, hopefully, you know, the funeral isn't going to be for like a week, and I'll be feeling better by then, because, like, I can't miss that, you know. Like, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. It would hurt to try to call them and explain, like, you know, I'm not going to make it because I have COVID. You know I should be there, but, like, I'm too weak to leave the house. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even want to have to make that phone call. And I know they would have understood. I know it would have been okay, but just, you know, for me personally, for my soul, I'm like, I have to be there. You know, I can't miss this. you know, I've missed so much time being with him, you know, since I've gotten older. I can't miss this. You know, this is my one last shot, you know, the final time I'll ever be able to see him again. And, you know, so I was like, there's just no way. So, I think it was like Sunday or Monday, they sent, my mom, or actually my uncle had posted the obituary on Facebook, like a copy of it. And the viewing was going to be Wednesday the 17th, and then the funeral was Thursday the 18th. And so on the 17th was like when you go to the funeral home, and you know, he's laid out in the casket in that big room, and you know, got all the flowers, and like the TV showing like all the pictures, you know, they do like the slideshow and stuff like that. And then on the 18th is when you go to the church, and you know, the actual funeral like ceremony, and then you go to the cemetery, and you know, they bury him or whatever. So I was like, okay, that gives me like 3 or 4 days at least. Hopefully I'm feeling better by then. And you know, over the next couple days, like the, you know, 14th through Wednesday the 17th, like I would do really good, and then I would just do terrible, and then I would do really good, and then I would just do terrible. And on the 17th, that morning, the viewing was from 2 to 7, but immediate family was supposed to get there by 1. You know, so we have like an hour before, you know, like the public viewing or whatever, you know, just kind of like an intimate, private little session or whatever. So my mom didn't know where the place was. I knew where it was. So we had talked on the phone for like an hour, I think the day before, or the day before that even, I don't remember. But, you know, it was just like, we were both going to go, you know, we couldn't miss this. But she said, you know, we got to be there by 1. So, you know, she's like, let's leave around like 12:45. She's like, I'll just follow you, because I didn't want to be in the same car with her. I was like, you know, we're both sick. You have something, I have something different. I don't want to give this to you. I don't want to get what you have, vice versa. So, you know, I drove down. She lives right down, literally same road as us, but like the other side. So I drove down there. I was like, hey, you know, let's go. So she followed me. We got there, and I was doing okay. I hadn't left the house since, you know, we got tested, and Shelby did like backtrack to Sunday. She went and got tested, and she tested positive. So, you know, today's Wednesday though, but she was like in the worst part of it, you know, so she unfortunately didn't make it. She felt horrible, but I was like, no, you just stay home, sleep, you know, keep drinking water. Because that was another thing too. By like Monday or Tuesday, my tongue was literally this color. Like, you know, it wasn't pink anymore. It was paper white. And like, it was like shriveled up. Like, it was like wrinkly. It was like, I was so dehydrated, you know, so I'm just slamming water as much as I can. And like, the thing about it was, I'm drinking this water, and I just like, when I would drink it, it would make me feel sick. Like, it would make me feel sick to my stomach. So it wasn't like I could just, you know, down all this water and get rehydrated again. Like, I'm trying to like sip on it as much as I can and just force it. But so we made it there. You know, spent as much time as I could there. I think I ended up leaving around 6 o'clock, which was only about an hour before, you know, it was over anyways. But I just, you know, it was so rough being there, you know, cried so damn much, you know, and like, I don't need to lose more fluids than, you know, because I'm already dehydrated. So, you know, that's making me more dehydrated. But like, as the day went on, you know, I'm trying to like keep my distance from everybody, because, you know, everybody wants to shake your hand, you know, give you a hug and stuff like that. And I'm, you know, just trying to tell people like, I'm sick, you know, I don't want to be closer to anybody than I have to. You know, of course we all had masks on, but most of the people actually would come in and like if you weren't walking through, so the rules in the funeral home were, when you come in, you have to wear a mask, and there's a lot of hallways you had to walk through. But once you got into the room, you could take your mask off or whatever. So most people, as soon as they got in there, masks are off, but I'm still, walking around like this, and like I would get super hot and sweaty, and then, I would cool down and be like almost like cold, and then I'd get hot again. But so as the day went on, I was going like this quick. About 5 o'clock, we were sitting there, and I was just like almost like felt like I was gonna pass out. Like I was getting really hot. Like when I would look around, it was like almost like I had like tunnel vision. And my uncle and mom and them, they all knew I was sick. My grandma and stuff. And everyone was just like, just go home. You've been here long enough. Nobody's gonna be upset. It's totally okay. Just go grab, because they had like a food section or whatever. They're like, go grab a bottle of water, sip on that, and go home and just rest. So I was like, I felt terrible leaving early, but I was like, all right, so I took off. I went outside. I actually sat in my car and I rolled down the windows because it was like probably 45 degrees, so it was still fairly chilly outside. But I rolled down the windows and I just like laid my head back, and I'm like, oh. I cooled down, and the fresh air felt good. But I came back home and just pretty much, Shelby was on the couch. So came home, told her about it, and then I went upstairs, and the next day, so that night, I was just like, I felt super sick again, like really uncomfortable, super achy body, and just like I was going downhill quick again, and it got bad. And I'm like, I had myself convinced that I wasn't going to be able to make it to the funeral the next day, because that was like, we had to leave at like 10 in the morning. No, I think like 9. Yeah, because we were supposed to be there. The funeral started at 11. They wanted us at the church by 10, and it was way out, like on the far corner of Dundee, and we live on the far corner of Monroe, so it was probably about a 35-40 minute drive. My mom texted me. She actually wanted to just ride with me, because at this point we had talked enough where I'm like, you have COVID. And she didn't get tested for it. My mom's one of those people, like, COVID wasn't real, it's fake, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, you have COVID. And I'm like, did you get tested for it? She's like, no, they wanted to, but I didn't let them. I'm like, really hard-headed person, really frustrated when she told me that. But so anyways, though, but on the funeral day, on Thursday, she wanted to just ride with me, and she's like, we'll go out there, we won't, because they did like a luncheon thing after or whatever. She's like, we won't stay too long. But Thursday morning, she texted me or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know if I can make it. I felt so sick. I felt so weak. I was like dressing up and, all these, dressy clothes, and then putting a nice jacket on and stuff like that. Like, I'm gonna like freaking just, I didn't think I could do it. And she's like, well, I'll drive, I'll pick you up so you can just lay the seat back, I'll crack the window open, and she's like, after the funeral's over, I'll just drop you back off, and then she'll go to the luncheon and stuff like that. I was like, all right, I don't want to, but like I need to. Well, I do want to, but I was just like, this is gonna be rough, but hey, it is what it is. So she came and picked me up. We drove out there. We got to the church, and it was extremely hot in there. There was quite a bit of people, plus they had the furnace going, they have all the candles lit and stuff like that. And again, that was really rough. They had him in the back, like the back area of the church, before the ceremony started. and they brought, you know, all of us immediate family members from the front, like 2 rows up there, you know, to basically see him one last time before they close the casket and, you know, do like this prayer thing. That was extremely hard, you know, because it's like, that's the last time I'm ever going to get to see him. Sorry about that. But, by the way, they did a phenomenal job of, you know, making him look really good. He looked like younger. He looked like, you know, way healthier than he was, you know, right there at the end. But, so, you know, did the service started around like 11 o'clock. It took about an hour. And then, you know, we did the funeral procession or whatever, you know, where all the cars, you know, drive in a row and drive to the cemetery. The cemetery was in Monroe on the opposite end, so, you know, those things drive slow. So it was like a 35-minute drive to, you know, from the church to the cemetery. And then, you know, because he was in the Navy, they had, you know, like a special service, you know, where they had the people out there that shoot the guns, you know, and do, you know, some speeches and stuff. And that was amazing to see. And of course, Wednesday, it was beautiful, sunny weather. Thursday, it was raining, it was windy, like super big gusts of wind. Like people that had umbrellas, like the umbrellas were just like, you know, like folding up and just being shredded into pieces. It was, you know, a rough like half hour or so that we were out there. But after that, like being in that cold air, like it was freezing, but it felt really good because it was like fresh air, you know, it wasn't stuffy. So I started to feel a little bit better, and I told my mom, I was like, you know, I'll go to the luncheon. Like I hadn't eaten in a couple days, so I was like, you know, it's a good chance for me to just grab something, you know, put it on my plate and eat. And I did. I had like some chicken and some like mastacholi, some potatoes, and then I even went up for some dessert. So, you know, it felt really good to eat. You know, I didn't eat a lot of stuff, but, you know, I had a nice little variety, you know, get some fuel in my stomach and, you know, visit with some family that, you know, you don't really ever get to see. And then after that, you know, I was just like, it was probably, I don't know, it had to be like 3-ish in the afternoon. And I told my mom, I was like, you know, can we leave soon? Like, please drop me off. I'm ready to go home, like lay down, drink some water and just sleep. You know, I was feeling better, but I still felt like crap, you know, so still wasn't, you know, comfortable, still was sick, you know, still congested and body aches, and, you know, I'd be sweating, and then I'd be cold, and then I'd be hot, and then I'd be cold. So, my mom dropped me off, and then she was going back they had to go to the funeral home to pick up all the, like the flowers and the gifts, you know, that people left. And I wanted to go help with that, but I was just like, I don't have the strength, you know, I need to go home and relax. You know, they had my uncle and, you know, all kinds of, you know, family and stuff like that could help, you know, so that wasn't no big deal. So my mom dropped me off, and me and Shelby just curled up, you know, on opposite sides of the couch, and, you know, we just played stuff on TV, and every day after that, I started, you know, like I was on the up and up. Like every day after that, I was feeling better and better, because at that point it had been, it was about 7 days, you know, because I got tested on the 11th and the funeral was on the 18th. So it had been a week since I had tested positive. And, you know, on like the 19th and 20th, you know, I was on the up and up. Like both of us were actually starting to do, you know, like significantly better by that point. But we would still have just like at night, like, you know, it was still rough to sleep, like couldn't really sleep that well, and didn't really have much, you know, appetites. Either of us really didn't have much of an appetite. You know, we were both dehydrated, you know, trying to sip on Gatorades and waters and stuff like that and get rehydrated. And, but like really as far as the sickness went, like the worst part we were getting was we would just randomly feel just kind of like, just groggy and like nauseous. Um, and that was really it. And then, that would go away and then you'd feel like 90% okay again. So, fast forward now, like 19th, 20th, 21st, I start getting this really, really bad toothache. And it was bad. Like, definitely, I would say, by a long shot, the worst I've ever had. And if anybody has ever had a toothache, like that overpowers everything. Like, you get a migraine, just the entire side of your face hurts. You can't chew. You have like no appetite because you don't want to eat anything because you cannot chew. Like, even though it was back here, like I couldn't even chew on this side because I just like it was so inflamed that like I couldn't, like, only chew on the one side. It would hurt this side like hell. So I'm like, great, COVID's pretty much gone now, and now I'm dealing with this. And on top of that, I was still dehydrated. So I'm like, oh my God, like I just wanted to pull my hair out. Luckily, the first few days, I could take like ibuprofen or Tylenol, and the pain would still be there, but it was just an annoyance, and then when the medicine would wear off, I would take some more, and I was able to sleep, those first couple nights or whatever, but still not really eat that much. By like Monday and Tuesday, no, what day was it? I think it was the weekend. So we'll say like the 20th and 21st, it was to the point where it was unbearable. I wasn't sleeping at night. Shelby was sleeping upstairs again. Well, she had went back to sleeping upstairs. I was like, I'll sleep down here, just so we can both kind of spread out and like not, because our sleep schedules were like total opposites. Like I was still falling asleep pretty early. She was staying awake, through a lot of the night, and she would toss and turn and stuff like that. So I was like, I'll sleep down on the couch so you could just, spread out in bed and hopefully get comfier. Plus, my tooth, like I'm down here moaning and groaning, I don't want to keep you awake up there. And then like the 20th and 21st, like the pain was absolutely unbearable. Like even taking ibuprofen and Tylenol, it did nothing for it. Like I couldn't sleep. It just like I can't describe how bad the pain was. Like it ruined, like essentially like it ruined my life when it was happening. Like I was in a horrible mood, so it wasn't like me and Shelby could just sit here and chit chat and enjoy a TV show or a movie. I could not eat, period. I didn't even want to drink. It just like nothing, all the stuff you see online, gargle with mouthwash, gargle with hot salt water, chew on a piece of garlic. Her sister had some really bad toothaches, and she had those little like those Listerine, you can like put it on your keychain and it's like a little, breath refresher spray or whatever. She swore up and down by that stuff. So I had went to the store, tried, actually Shelby had went to the store, could not find it. She ended up like feeling real sick when she was out, so she came back home. And then the next day she's like, you need to just go to like urgent care or something. They'll give you like an antibiotic or something for it. And I'm like, what's urgent care gonna do for, a toothache, But I was like, whatever, like I'm desperate, something, like I need something. I was literally ready to grab a wrench and like pull the tooth out myself. Like it was so bad. I can't, like, I know I'm just saying that over and over, but like I cannot explain how horrible it was. So it's like 8 o'clock, urgent care closed at like 9, and it was on a Monday. So I'm like, hopefully they won't be busy. I pull in that parking lot, you guys. That parking lot was full. 3 times the amount of cars that were there when I got my COVID test. And I'm like, I am not waiting in this place, like, for them to be like, oh, you know, there's really nothing we can do, or here's some antibiotics that aren't really going to do anything, but they might help. So I turned around and I left. I went to Walgreens just to buy like every tooth pain related thing I could buy. Like, I got this stuff that you just rub on the tooth or the gum and it like numbs it. I found the spray, you know, that Listerine spray. I bought more like ibuprofen and stuff because we were getting low on all that stuff. I bought a new toothbrush that had like softer bristles. I bought, you know, some like mouthwash that had stuff in it specifically for like toothaches and stuff. You know, like I spent like $35 and I'm dead broke because I'm not working. Like we've been working such short hours at work, you know, that I was already like broke, and now I'm not working, period. So I'm more broke, you know, so I'm trying not to spend money, but I'm like, I need relief. Like, I didn't care at this point if my car got repossessed, you know, because I couldn't afford it or whatever. I was just like, I need this taken care of. So I got home, I tried that Listerine spray. It did absolutely nothing. I put this numbing stuff on, so like it's just this little brown bottle, and you shake it up, and it's got like this plastic stick like attached to the cap, so you unscrew it and just like rub it like all over the gum and the tooth that's bothering you, and it numbs it up, you know, like almost like when you get that shot of stuff in your mouth. It did nothing because the pain was like down in my jaw, like, you know, at the root of the tooth, you know, not on top of the tooth. Like, it wasn't like a cavity, or, you know, my gums were like inflamed or something like that. Like, this was down in, you know, like the root of the tooth or whatever, like under the tooth. So that really didn't work. I woke up on Monday, and then, no, what day was it? I kind of got the days confused at this point now. I woke up on the 23rd. No, you know what? This must have been Sunday night that I tried to go to the... Yeah, so Sunday night was when I tried to go to the urgent care, and, you know, they didn't have... I didn't go or whatever, you know, I pulled in and left. So Monday morning, I called my dentist. She's like, yeah, I can get you in tomorrow, which would be the 23rd at 10 a.m. I'm like, yes, okay, cool. I was like, by the way, like, because normally, like, this dentist, no matter what I go there for, the first thing they start doing is doing a full cleaning and, you know, checking, you know, your gums and all this other stuff. I was like, I'm not here for a cleaning appointment. Like, I have excruciatingly bad pain. I'm like, I'm not sleeping. I haven't eaten in days. This pain, like, will not go away with, you know, ibuprofen and stuff. I was like, I need emergency, like, help here. Like, I need this taken care of. Like, you know, so she's like, okay. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. She's like, yep, you know, 10 a.m., you know, come on in or whatever. So Tuesday, I wake up, I barely slept, you know, like, I'm down here on the couch. I would sleep for probably a half hour and then wake up in excruciating pain, and then try to force myself back to sleep, and then wake up like maybe in an hour, excruciating pain. And I'm taking ibuprofen and Tylenol like it's candy, which I told you guys I hate doing that. So like, I felt horrible, and the thing was, like, it wasn't even really helping. Like I said, like, it got to the point where, like, the first couple days I had the toothache, I would take medicine and it would work for like 8 to 10-ish hours. And then when it wore off, I would take more and it would work, you know, for another 8 hours or so. This would give me like maybe an hour of relief. It was so bad. So, but anyways, you know, fast forward 10 a.m., I get to the dentist, you know, I got to refill out the paperwork. And I'm sitting there in the office and I'm sweating my ass off. I got so hot again, but I didn't really have any COVID anymore. Like, I hadn't been tested yet, but all those symptoms were gone. Like, the body aches were gone. You know, I wasn't feeling nauseous anymore. None of that stuff. Like all that stuff was gone. All I was getting was like I would randomly get really hot. And so she checks my temperature and I got like real nervous. I'm like, oh no, they're not gonna let me in because I'm like super hot. And she's like, okay, cool, 97.3 or whatever. She's like, perfect. I'm like, how? But I go back there. Right off the bat, the lady does like a, x-ray or whatever. And, that it's like that, those x-rays hurt because you got to bite down on that thing. So it's like this flat piece that's got like it's like a T, and it like goes in your mouth like this, and you got to bite down on it to hold it because it's got this huge metal thing that like guides the x-ray or something like that, and it's heavy, and I can't bite. So I'm like, sitting there like trying my best, and it, only took like 20 seconds, but it felt so long. It made the tooth re-hurt again. Like, so like just talking about it right now, the tooth, like I'm like, oh my God, I can feel the pain. But so she does another one that wasn't bad at all. And then she's like, all right, the doctor should be in here in a few minutes, he'll go over the x-ray with you and, figure out what you guys can do, blah, blah, blah. So this young kid comes in. I'm 28. I swear to God, I felt like he was maybe 21. And I'm like, holy crap. And he's like, all right, man. He's like, yeah. He's like, you need a root canal on that tooth really bad. Or no, I'm sorry. He sits down and he gets some tools out. And he's like, this part's going to suck. He's like, but I have to do it. And he starts tapping on all the teeth, like in that general area. He's telling me like, tell me, which ones it hurts on. And it was only that one tooth. Like, I knew that, this wasn't rocket science. Like, it wasn't the top teeth. It wasn't, the front teeth or whatever. So he's like, yep. He's like, it's that, one tooth, number 19, your molar, the one that you did have a root canal on. And I'm like, I knew all this. And now they hurt even more because, he's sitting there tapping on the damn thing with this heavy metal, like, little hammer. And he's like, so basically you have two options. He's like, we can pull it, or he's like, you'll need another root canal on it, but because we've already done one, we can't do it again. You'll have to go to a specialist. And I'm like, of course, of course. And when I hear that, I'm thinking dollar signs. I'm like, oh my God. And at this point, I don't ever want to get a tooth pulled. Like, I don't want to have any missing teeth. And, I was like, if I ever did get a tooth pulled, I would want, an implant put in right away. Because I've read all the horror stories online. Like, you get certain teeth, like, you get pulled, and it messes up your jaw. Like, your other teeth get crooked. It makes it hard to chew. And he basically, like, said that. He's like, we can pull it. He's like, it'll, get rid of your pain. He's like, but it will cause you more. He's like, it will cause so many issues in the near future. He's, and he explained that he's like, my teeth will shift, it'll be really hard to eat on that side, just all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, I don't really want to get it pulled. I'm like, I'd rather, if at all possible, save the tooth, because I looked up stuff online, like implants are like $3,000 on the low end. And then if you get a bridge, like, so here's, this is the bad tooth, tooth is gone. So you have this gap. All these other teeth around it shift and move, and, my bite gets messed up and it causes other pain. So an implant, like, implants a fake tooth in that spot. So, like, it's almost like I never lost a tooth. I have a new tooth there, but it's fake. But there's a tooth there, and it's permanent, like it's in the jaw or whatever. A bridge is cheaper, I believe, but it's like not as good. And what that is they would grind these two teeth down and build this thing that would like basically glue onto those teeth because there's nothing here for it to like attach to. So it would like be, bonded to these two teeth. And it would be like 3 fake teeth, even though, there's only one missing, but they had to grind these down and then, basically put this one tooth that's actually 3, and glue it down or whatever. Also extremely expensive. So I'm like, I don't want that. Like, I feel like I feel like I would feel that too. So I was like, all right, let's do the specialist, So he got me the paperwork, gave me two different ones. One was literally right across the street. One was on the other side of Detroit. And he's like, you're going to have to call, we can't call and make the appointments for you, because all the COVID stuff now and this and that. So he's like, call him right away, and he gave me a piece of paper that I give them that tells them everything and, gives them permission to like call and get like, the x-rays and like talk to the dentist or whatever. So I get out in the parking lot. I had to pay like $40 for that, and then which pissed me off because I'm like, what is the point of having dental insurance? Like, I don't know if it's just my insurance or whatever, but like I feel like it's garbage. So I look on the piece of paper. That was like a $200 something ordeal, and I had to pay like 30 or 40 or whatever, so I guess thankfully I had insurance, but I'm like, that $200 something dollars for what? Like, you told me what I already knew. It frustrated me, but I go out in the car, I call the one that's right across the street because I'm like, I don't want to drive, 2 hours some other place or whatever. So I call them and like they answered, but like they couldn't hear me. So I hung up, tried calling again. It was the same thing. So I'm like, okay. So I got really frustrated at this point. I drove back home and I was just like, I was pissed off because, my mouth is still in unbelievable pain. And it was worse now because they're hitting the damn tooth with a hammer. By the way, if you're still watching this, thank you. I do very much appreciate it. Regular content will resume here very shortly now that I'm feeling better. But, so I go home and, Shelby had just got up at that point and I was telling her about it. She's like, wow, I can't believe, because she thought, the dentist was going to fix it or whatever. And I hoped, but I kind of figured that they weren't. I kind of figured it was going to go exactly how they said, like, here's what the issue is. So, all right, see ya, because the dentist just frustrates me. I'm not one of those people that's afraid of them. They just frustrate me because it's so damn expensive. And I feel like if I have an issue, I make 10 appointments before the issue is actually fixed. So I got home and I was just kind of relaxing on the couch, talked to Shelby about it or whatever. And then she went upstairs to take a shower. I was like, all right, let me try calling this place again. Like, I need to get this done. Like, I can't wait. The longer I wait, the farther out this appointment's going to be. I want to get this done while I'm still off work. This was Tuesday the 23rd, so I'm like, I have 6 more days till I go back to work. I go back to work on Monday, the 29th. And mind you, it's the 27th right now. So I call him, I explained, that I have this bad toothache. I went to the dentist and they told me I need a root canal. And the tooth has already had a root canal, blah, 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 blah. And, I gave them all the information off the paper. And she's like, okay. She's like, I actually had just had an opening tomorrow at 10 a.m. Does that work for you? And I was like, yes, like literally as soon as possible. Like I would come in there right now if I could. So she gets all my information. She's like, all right, we're going to email you, like the new patient form. So you don't have to do it here. You can do it all online. And then she asked me my insurance information and whatnot. So I'm like, oh my God, tomorrow at 10 a.m. She's like, and tomorrow the doctor has time to do a root canal, if that's what needs to be done or whatever. So I'm like, okay, thank God, so tomorrow at 10 a.m. when I go there, it's going to get fixed, like the work is going to be done and it's not going to be like, okay, we'll schedule you next week for a root canal or whatever. So I was so thankful, so happy. So a couple hours later, I still hadn't got this email. I get a phone call and it was them, but I didn't answer. I think I was kind of dozed off at the time, but they leave a voicemail. So, I eventually wake up, I check the voicemail, and it's the same lady basically saying that they can't get a hold of my dental insurance to get like the papers or, the prices and coverages and stuff like that. And she found like a generic printout on their website of the coverages, but it doesn't mention having like a root canal done on a tooth that already had one or whatever. And she's like, you know, the out-of-pocket cost is this much, you know, and it's looking like, from what I can see online, your insurance is only going to cover this much. So you might have to pay, oh God, what was the number? It was like $1,190 or something like that. And I just like, I literally, Shelby was sitting right here. I threw my phone like at the couch, and it just like, I broke down. I'm like, I just had a weak moment. I'm like, you know, why is this my luck? What is the point of dental insurance? Like, when I lived with my mom when I was young and she wasn't working at the time, like having the free state insurance or whatever, when I needed a root canal on, I think it was this tooth or something, but like, she didn't have to pay $1, like not $1. And now I work, you know, 5, 6, 7 days a week. I have like full dental insurance. To my knowledge, it was really good insurance. And I just, every time I need some kind of work that's not just a cleaning, it's like over $1,000 out of pocket. So I just like, I'm like, I'm not working. I don't have the money, but I'm literally gonna die because I can't eat. Like, I'm barely drinking. I can't sleep. Like, I'm losing my mind. And I had a breakdown, and, you know, Shelby, as, you know, usual, you know, came and hugged me and told me everything was gonna be all right. We'll figure it out. You know, we basically put our credit cards together, and, you know, we're able to come up with, you know, that amount. You know, and it basically like it would drain us both, but, you know, we came together and, you know, figured it out though. And I didn't even call him back because I just went in there. I'm like, it's my luck. I'm going to have to pay at least that much. So I'm not even going to bother calling them back. I'll see them tomorrow at my appointment. So I went in there expecting to pay, you know, $1,200. I had logged on to my dental insurance through my phone and was like, I don't know if this helps you at all. And she's like, oh, actually, yeah. She's like, let me, you know, check it out or whatever. So she's on my phone for like 10 minutes, and I'm sitting there, and I'm in this office again, sweating my ass off. Because one, I'm in extreme pain. Two, my anxiety's through the roof because I'm like, my insurance isn't going to cover it, because I just got the root canal that was originally done was like right before COVID started. So I guess there's like a period. They're not going to cover it. That lady thought that they weren't going to cover it because it was in such a short time period or something like that. All this other stuff. So she's playing on my phone for like, you know, literally 10, 15 minutes. I'm sweating. Like, I'm literally like repeatedly wiping my freaking head off. And then she's like, oh, yep. So she's talking to this other lady. She's like, okay, cool. So 1,500, something like this. He'll have to pay this much. And she's, you know, got one of those like calculators that like you type and it like prints out or whatever. She's like, okay. She's like, your total due today is going to be, like $565 or something like that. I'm like, and again, that is so much money. Do not have it right now, but between what we scrounged up or whatever, I had it, you know. So I'm like, all right, here's the card. So basically that was like them assuming that my insurance will cover what the other differences or whatever. So there is a chance that still the insurance could be like, no, we're not covering that much, or we're not covering it, period. And then now I have to pay like another, it would be like $1,100 or $1,200 on top of what I already paid. So it's gonna be a big issue if that happens, because I don't have that. I'm not gonna have that for a while because I have bills that are, you know, past due, you know, because I haven't been working for 2 weeks now. But anyways though, so fast forward, it tells me, you know, that's what I'm gonna have to pay, and I'm like, all right, beautiful, that's amazing. That's half of what I thought I was gonna have to pay. So super happy about that. So I'm sitting there waiting, and this is like, they do dentistry work, but it's not like a dentist. They just do like, you know, root canals and like all the big stuff. So it's not really set up like a normal dentist. You know, normal dentist, you go in, like at least mine, they got the chair, you know, there's like TV there, and it's, you know, friendly and welcoming. This place, it was just like tan walls, the chair with all the equipment, no TVs anywhere, you know, like, and I'm just like, if I don't know, it made me nervous or whatever. But anyways, though, so I'm sitting there waiting for about 5-6 minutes, and the lady comes around from the office, and she's like, I gotta check your temperature, and just comes up, and I'm like, oh fuck. I'm like, I'm super hot. She's like, all right, cool, 97.3. I'm like, whew, thank God, because I feel like I'm like 500 degrees. So they call me back there. I sit in this chair, and like, you know, the female that had brought me back there, I don't know if it's like the assistant or whatever, she's asking me all these questions. I'm like, you know, I'm telling her about the pain and, you know, all the other stuff, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna have you rinse with this peroxide something or other. So I did that, you know, rinse it out, do the stupid spit thing or whatever, that suction cup or whatever. She's like, all right, you know, the dentist, he'll be in here in a few minutes. So I hear him finishing up like in the room next to me, and there's all these loud grinding crazy noises, and he's, you know, I could hear him talking to the patient over there saying, you know, okay, you know, you got to do this, you know, come back in a couple weeks and we can, you know, do the other part, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, okay, come on, hurry up. Like, my tooth was hurting more and more. Like, I was sitting there, like, just clenching my jaw, like, and I'm sweating. I'm in this, like, uncomfortable little chair. And so the dentist comes over. He's talking to me. And basically, so what had happened, when you get a root canal, I don't know exactly what they do. I know they, like, open up the tooth and, like, take the nerves out or something like that. And then they, like, basically, like, the top of the tooth is, like, just a big filling. And then after a short period of time, you have to go back to the dentist, and then they do, like, a crown. Basically, like, they remake the tooth and, like, glue it on top of that old tooth or whatever to protect it. Because it gets, like, really weak, I guess, you know, because I think it, like, kills the tooth when they do a root canal. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on this. But at the time when I got this root canal done the first time, I could not afford it. Like, I paid out of pocket, like, cash. It took everything in me, and then to get the cap or whatever, like, the second part of it, to finish it, it was going to be, like, another, I want to say, like, $1,000 or something like that. And again, like, I did not have it. Like, there was no way I was going to be able to just come up with $1,000. Because I think I had just switched lines at work or something like that, or our hours, like, that was kind of when we took, like, a nosedive, you know, from working, like, 7 days a week, 90 hours a week, down to, like, you know, 45 hours a week. And that was, like, I was barely making ends meet, you know, so there was no way that I could pull out all that extra money. And I'm like, I'll just be careful with the tooth, you know, because they told me, they're like, you know, before you get the cap, just be careful with it, you know, it's not as strong as the other teeth, you know. So I was like, okay, I'll just chew, you know, on the other side or whatever. And so I had spoke with the dentist, and they agreed to do, like, because they're like payment up front, like, you pay as soon as the work is done, you know. We're not doing any kind of payment plans, we're not trying to help or anything like that, you know. So it's really frustrating. Their only option was care credit, and that's what we did when Tasha had her puppies, and we had, like, a $4,000 vet bill. I got approved for a couple grand, and Shelby got approved for a couple grand, and that's how we covered that. And we both ended up messing that card up, like, missed a couple payments, and then there was, like, no leeway to catch it back up. Like, once you missed a couple, they close your account out, you know, blacklist you from their services, and then they literally sent, you know, like, a process server person, you know, to serve us court papers or whatever to sue us for I think mine was like $1,200 and hers was like $800 left or something like that, you know, like, so it wasn't even that much money. But anyway, yeah, that's besides the point. That was so many years ago. I mean, that was like 8 years ago now. But I was like, I've tried to get them again, because you know, we resolved it. We paid, you know, whatever. But I've tried to sign back up for them, and I just get denied every time, like, instantly denied, like, not even like a low approval or something like that, just instantly denied. So I'm like, That's not going to work. They're not going to approve me. So, somehow we ended up coming up, like, they agreed to do the payment split, like, into 3 ways. And it was, like, basically 3 different payments of, like, $390 or $400 or something like that, which I was super thankful for. Like, I was like, oh my, you guys are going to work with me. I'm so appreciative of that. Thank you so much. But when it came down to it, like, I still just wasn't going to be able to come up with, $400 3 different times. It's still the same amount of money. So I ended up, fast forward to now, I never got that cap. And I've never had an issue, period. Like, no pain, no worries, like, oh my God, I feel like I broke the tooth or something, until, I just had this pain out of nowhere. There was an infection under the tooth or whatever. But, so anyways, so the dentist guy, he's like, and I told him that, I was like, I never got the cap on there. It's completely my fault. It was a financial thing at the time, and then it just completely got away from me. I just completely forgot about it, to be honest with you. He's like, yeah. He's like, what happens? He's like, there's no judgment whatsoever. He's like, but you have to promise me that you will get that done this time, because doing this work again, he's like, it's costing you money that it shouldn't have, and this will happen again if you don't get that cap. And I was like, I was like, I promise you, this tooth will have the cap or crown, whatever the heck it's called. I'm not doing this again. This is the worst pain I have ever experienced in my life. I've broken my wrist before, falling 10 feet into an empty pool. This is the worst pain I've ever had. I'm never going to do this again. So I was like, I promise you. So he's like, all right, he's like, he's like, when I get into the tooth, he's like, there is a chance that the tooth could be cracked or, like, broken. And if that's the case, we can't proceed. I have to stop immediately what I'm doing, and you have to get with your dentist and they have to pull it. Like, there's no way around that. Like, if the tooth is broke or chipped, like, basically if the tooth was damaged or broke at all or cracked, they can't do a root canal. And basically I need to, like, get it emergency pulled out and then get, a bridge or an implant in right away. And he's like, it's not really that common. He's like, but it does happen. He's like, so, just forewarning or whatever. I was like, okay, please God, don't let that happen. So, they start doing the work. He does the shot, the numbing shot. And that part, if you've never had a root canal or something like that, if you need one and you're worried about it, that is the worst part. Just getting that shot. The rest of it, you're just like, in it, no pain, no uncomfortability, no nothing. Like, it doesn't hurt. There's no pain. Like, I know friends at work that, like, need them and won't get it done because they're so scared of how bad it's going to hurt. I'm like, it doesn't hurt at all. The worst part is for, like, 2 seconds when they put that needle in to numb your mouth, it kind of feels like a hot pinch wherever they, like, put the needle. But what hurts is, like, they move it around, and, like, it kind of, like, I had this pain, like, shoot up to my lip for, like, a split second. It just felt like, like a hot pinch again. And that was it. Like, that was it. Like, there's no more pain after that. Like, it was such a relief, because, like, what they'll give you that shot or shots. They usually do 2 for me, and then they leave the room for about 10-15 minutes while that stuff just kind of, like, works its way in and kind of starts working. And that was the first relief, like, the first time I had been pain free for, like, 4 days. So I was just literally in the chair, just like, I could have fell asleep. I got so comfortable, and I was just so relieved to not feel pain. So he comes back and they start doing the work. It takes about an hour, but it flies by. And so he got done. He's like, all right. He's like, now on a normal root canal, I'd say within a couple days, but because we had to redo one, you know, he's like, it's still gonna hurt you for a couple days. He's like, you're gonna be in pain. But he said probably within 10 days or so, at least 10 days, wait about 7 to 10 days to get the cap put on, because, you know, it's still, there is an infection down there that's healing now. He's like, but you're probably still going to be in good pain for a couple days. And I'm like, really? He's like, because this thing, he said the amount of infection that they drained out, he said it was huge. And that actually, I remember taking the longest, because like he would say like, okay, rinse, 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 rinse. And I guess that was them, you know, like getting the infection out or whatever, like draining it. And so when he left the room, the female doctor was like, she's like, as much as the infection as we got out, she's like, it might be uncomfortable for a couple days, but you shouldn't really feel much pain. And I was like, that's kind of what I was hoping, you know, that's how it's always been before. But so they gave me a prescription. I have an antibiotic. The dentist the other day that hit it with the damn hammer, they gave me a prescription for an antibiotic, and take 4 of those a day, and I've still got like half a bottle still. But in the first couple of days, it doesn't really do anything. Like even them, they were like, oh yeah, that you wouldn't even notice anything yet because it hasn't been long enough. So I keep taking those, and then they gave me a prescription for Motrin. He told me, he's like, you can just take stuff like you have at home. They're 200 milligrams each. He's like, take 3 of them every time you take your antibiotic. He's like, or if you want, I'll write you a prescription, you know, for the 600 milligram pills or whatever. And I was like, I would rather do that, because if I don't have it like in writing on a dang pill bottle, like I'll somehow mess it up or forget, you know. So they gave me the prescription for that. And then, yeah, basically like I went home, my whole mouth was numb, but there was no pain. I still couldn't bite, but after like 2 hours, like when I was there, I was starving. Like, and it was weird because I hadn't been really hungry. Like I haven't been eating, but I hadn't really even been hungry because of the pain and just my overall demeanor or whatever. Me and Shelby were sitting on the couch, and just, you know, she was so happy because I was in a good mood. I was so happy because I didn't feel any pain, but again, my whole face was numb still. But after a couple hours, I was like, you know, she was starving, so she went and got us some McDonald's. Food, I swear to you, had never tasted so good. It was insane. Like I was eating that food and I was just like, just mowing down a McDouble and, you know, like a large fry and a couple nuggets, and drinking a Coke. Like, oh my God, like I was in heaven. I can't even explain how good that food tasted. And it was amazing because I could actually kind of eat. Like I was chewing on this side because like I was still numb for a couple hours. It usually don't last that long, but I was eating on this side, you know, real lightly still. But then after that, I laid down, I took a nap, and it's just like, oh my God, it was so amazing. Because when I woke up, like a lot of the numbingness was gone, but there was like no pain. And it was just like, I was so thankful. Like I could have cried tears of joy. So that was the 24th. And later on that day at like 6 o'clock, my phone rings, and it's my HR department from work. And I'm like, what are they calling for? So I don't answer because I was just like, what the heck? Because it was like 6 o'clock or whatever. Like, I'll call them back. They'll be there for a minute still. Shelby was cleaning the house. Like, our house was trashed. Like, so trashed because neither of us did any cleaning. You know, we've been sick for so long. And she also, like, I'll leave her details out of it. She also had a horrible experience after COVID with something completely unrelated. I don't know how much she wants to share, you know, so I won't put it in my video. But, you know, finally we were both having like our first good normal day since, you know, all this stuff happened, you know. So our house was just trashed. We had garbage everywhere, our table, you know, water bottles everywhere. You know, the kitchen dishes were just piled up. You know, it was horrible. So she was on a cleaning spree. you know, I was finally able to take a nap and relax, which was just out of this world amazing. But so my work called, and I'm just like kind of sitting there staring at the phone, and I'm like, what are they calling for? And this was Wednesday. Thursday was going to be 14 days. So this was Wednesday the 24th. I had, you know, same day I got this done. The 25th was 14 days. So that's when I thought I go get retested, and then I wait 3 days, and then I go back to work. You know, so I expected to go back to work Monday, the 29th. So here it is, the 24th. My phone rings. It's them. I didn't answer, but they left a voicemail, and I read, you know, how it like, it like texts you the voicemail or whatever, like it does that type text to talk or talk to text or whatever. So I'm sitting there reading it, and it's like, hi, this is so-and-so from work, you know, I was just wondering if your time off was extended because you were supposed to be back on the 21st or something. It said something like that, but it was real mumbled up, like it struggled to, you know, translate it or whatever. And I'm like, but why? First off, we didn't work the 21st. That was a Sunday. And I'm like, second, the lady I talked to on the phone specifically told me 14 days plus the 3 after that. So I was pissed at this point. So, you know, we had the TV going, Shelby was watching YouTube, you know, doing dishes and stuff. So I go upstairs and I call, and I'm like, hi, yeah, this is, you know, Brian, you just called me. She's like, yeah, she's like, you were supposed to be back on the 21st. I'm like, I have COVID. No, I wasn't. She's like, yeah, that's 10 days from your positive test. I'm like, okay. I was like, on the 11th, whoever called me, I don't remember their name because it was kind of hard to understand them too. I was like, they told me I wait 14 days, and on the 14th day, I go get retested, and if it's negative, then 3 days after that, I return to work. And then she's like, oh, no, it's different now. Now it's only 10 days, and you don't have to get retested. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, I'm not coming back yet because I'm still running a fever. So is my fiance. And like, I don't know if that was actually COVID still, but like, that's the truth, you know, like I'm having these extremely hot flashes where I'm just sweating and like, literally, like I feel like I need to strip down like almost naked to cool down, you know? So I was kind of pissed with them on the phone. I'm like, look, like I'm still having symptoms. Like it hasn't even been 14 days yet since I tested positive. And she's like, all right. She's like, well, you have to return to work by the 26th, which is Friday, unless, you know, you go back and, you know, the doctor extends it. I'm like, okay, well, I guess whatever. I mean, hopefully I'm feeling better by then. So that was on the 24th on Wednesday. So I was kind of pissed off. I'm like, I don't even get like this weekend, you know, like just let me come back to work on a Monday. Like that's stupid, but whatever, I guess. So Friday I went back to work, which was yesterday. The 25th, I've been taking my antibiotic for the tooth. I never got that prescription filled, but I've been just taking 3 ibuprofen, and I've kind of cut that down because I'm like, I don't really, like, I'm not in pain like that. Like, I can feel the tooth right now. Today is the 27th, so it's been 25th, 26th. Today is like the 3rd day after I got it, you know, worked on or whatever. So I'm like, I can feel the tooth, but like there's not really pain, you know? So I'm like, there's no point in me taking all this ibuprofen because that stuff is horrible for you. You know, I hate taking it, you know, and like you're only supposed to take like a maximum of like 6 a day, and this guy wants me taking like 12 a day. So I have been able to eat though. The pain is like 99% gone. I'm going to call my dentist and set up the appointment to get the crown because, you know, we do have money left over that I thought I was going to have to spend on the root canal itself. So hopefully, you know, they'll work with me with the split payment again. I still have the paperwork, so I don't see why they wouldn't. But yeah, that is getting done Probably wait about another week because it's, obviously still healing. But that has been my COVID experience. I don't know if the tooth infection had anything to do with COVID, or maybe it was the lack of eating, like, because, I pretty much like stopped eating when I got sick. I don't know if that somehow had anything to do with it. I was still brushing my teeth, still rinsing with Listerine and stuff like that. I did miss a few days when I was really sick. I'm not going to lie and say I did it every day. But I don't know why that infection happened. I don't know a cause. But COVID kicked both of our butts. We were not the lucky ones that had like no symptoms. It kicked our asses. The body aches were by far, for me, the body aches were the worst. Like I could not get comfortable. My body ached so badly. Nauseous, fevers, chills. Like every day I would have so many times a day where I was burning up, just sweating like crazy. And then within an hour, no matter how many blankets I put on and wrapped up, no matter how much I cranked the heat, I was freezing. Like, and I'm talking like shivering, freezing. And I'm a big guy. At the start of this, I weighed about 285 pounds. Now I'm down in the 250s. So I lost, the last time I weighed myself, it was like 20, so it was like 22 pounds, I think it was, or no, it was 25. So I lost like 25 pounds, which I will also blame on my tooth, not just COVID. But yeah, guys, this stuff was rough. It was not fun. It affected me and Shelby like a lot of similar ways, but also so many completely different ways. Like I never really had like any congestion in my head. I did have a cough for a little bit. I was coughing, but that was it. Like I didn't have, my ears weren't, pressurized. My head wasn't congested or anything. Hers was like a nasty head cold. A lot of nauseous, like just feeling like she was going to get sick. Bad fevers for her. Like she would be sweating as well. She never really had the chills too much. I don't recall, but it was rough. It was not fun. I would not wish that on anybody. All the people out there that are like, oh, it's just the flu, it's the same thing. Absolutely not in our case. It was, I would have so much, I had that, that 24-hour flu or whatever, like 5 years in a row back in like high school and like right after high school. I would take that 10 times before having COVID once again. Like that flu, like when you get like a flu or something, you stay in bed, you get sick, you have diarrhea for, 2-3 days or whatever, and then you're fine. This, it was horrible. Like the entire time we had it, it was terrible. It comes and goes. It comes in these waves. You'll feel okay for a minute, and then you feel like complete death. And the long-term effects that we both are having suck. So I can't really say long-term because, like it really only has been a couple weeks now, but we both are COVID-free, and we both experience shortness of breath, like randomly, like doing something small that should not affect you running out of breath will make you, where I'm like, feel like I just jogged up a giant flight of stairs or something like that. And all I did was like go take the trash out or something like that. So that's really annoying. And then the two other things that I'm experiencing that she's also experiencing is, mine's a little bit worse. Like when we go to the store, I get like, I almost want to compare it to anxiety, which I do have really bad, but this is different in a sense. But like when we go out in stores and we're out in public, like I get like, I feel, I don't know, like I'll get like tunnel vision where I just like hyper focus on one thing. Like I can't just, like look around and just walk. And I will get, when I'm wearing a mask now, it is really hard to breathe. Like both of us, for us wearing a mask, it sucks now. It's almost like we'll start hyperventilating, like just really short breaths, and it's like hard to breathe. And then that makes us really hot, like have a hot flash. So those are like the long-term things we've noticed, which, you know, we're dealing with. Yeah, so COVID sucks. I'm 28, she's 28 now. So we're still young, you know. Seems like most people our age that get it, it's like they didn't actually get it or something, but it really kicked our butts. And I know this video was extremely long. I'm probably gonna split it up into two because it's probably like an hour by now. I do appreciate you guys watching. If you watch this whole thing, if you guys had an experience like us, or you know, you want to share your experience, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. Also, super appreciative and thankful of all your guys' love and support. Your guys' comments were awesome when both of us made a post. You know, way back when we tested positive, I had made a post, you know, sharing an update. You know, it was like, again, I'm not posting videos, and you know, here's why. So thank you guys for all the love and support. Thanks to all my fans and subscribers for sticking around. And, you know, hopefully this video is entertaining to some people. I just wanted to share the story, get it out there, and share that sometimes COVID isn't just a fake, made-up thing. So, all right, guys, I will see you in the next... I'm going to upload this right now, but I have some old content from pre-COVID that I will also be posting, so I'll kind of put it like in the description, like old, new, and stuff like that. So, all right, guys, I'll see you.